Okay. So for all of the chapters, you have a pre-test and then typically 1 or 2 post-test or worksheets. Let's see, what do you have here? Yeah, so you have a worksheet 1, and then you'll typically have a worksheet 2, and then a post-test 1 and a post-test 2. So you're gonna see a lot of what is included in the weekly quizzes that are in the Math 0075. They're going to be primarily questions from the post-test 2 of each chapter that we're covering, okay? So if you've already done it in the Math 0075, and then you're studying in your textbook, you're going to notice that all of the questions are coming from the post-test 2 section. So I recommend that everyone work on the pre-test, but that's not what we're going to focus on today. Kind of just look at it, glance at it. Does it make sense to you? Can you do some of those problems? And then focus on the worksheet 1, which is what we're primarily going to do today. Worksheet 1 questions. And then in your homework for the actual med math course, I believe they ask you to do the post-test 1 content, okay? And then on the quiz that you'll receive from me, it's post-test 2 content, just to clear that up, okay? So basically, we're just gonna dive right into 1 or 2 questions from each of these sections, and I'm gonna see if I can get you guys a little bit. Does anyone have their textbook so far? Not really. Thumbs up. Maybe. Okay. Seen some maybes and some no's. And that's okay, guys. I know we're officially haven't even started the semester. That's fine. Okay. So we're getting into it. The sooner we get going, the sooner we're done. Okay. So the first section is change the following improper fractions to mixed numbers. So all that means is, for example, in question number 1, and if you guys need me to zoom in even closer, just let me know. It's literally a click of the button, okay? So if that's an issue too, speak up, okay? So let me go ahead and see if I can get this. For some reason, the camera is not focusing as well as I would like for it to. Give me a second. Can you guys see that? Or could it be better?
A little out of focus for me.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to work on the settings on this later. So I apologize for that. But that's where we're at. Yay for technology. Okay. So question 1 simply is asking, take the fraction 4/3 when your numerator, the number on top of your fraction, is larger than the denominator. This is an improper fraction, okay? So how are we gonna get this from being an improper how do we get this to be from an improper fraction? How are we going to change it into a mixed number? Okay, so literally, we're going to take 4 divided by 3. Do y'all remember this? Old school long division? Okay, so 4 divided by 3 is 1, and we have a remainder of 1, right? So these are our steps. We take 4 divided by 3. 3 goes into 4 one time. 4 minus 3, we have a remainder of 1, okay? So our mixed fraction is the whole number. So what we got up here when we worked out our long division, the whole number goes in front. We always keep our denominator. And the remainder is what goes on top in our numerator position. Okay. Give me a thumbs up when you guys are finishing your notes so I know we can move on. Okay, so next I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna skip around, that way we get a good mix of examples, okay? The next one we're gonna do is number 3. Number 3 is asking us to change 16 over 5. We're converting 16 over 5 into a mixed fraction. So this improper fraction converted into a mixed fraction. So that's going to look like 16 divided by 5. 5 goes into 16 3 times. We subtract 15, right? 3 times 5 is 15. And we have a remainder of 1. So our mixed fraction, again, is the whole number in front. We always keep our denominator. This guy is not changing. And our remainder goes on top of our fraction. Does anybody have any questions on how to convert improper fractions to mixed numbers? If you do, put a comment in the chat. I'm trying to see y'all's chat. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Okay, I'm gonna assume we're all good. If you need one more example, unmute yourself and tell me. If we're good, give me a unanimous thumbs up, let's keep moving. Okay, we're gonna keep moving then. I like the feedback. Thank you everyone for participating this morning. I know it's early, guys. I know we're jumping into everything really quickly. Okay, so you get the idea of going from improper fractions to mixed numbers. So the next section is just going in the reverse direction. Now we're changing mixed numbers into improper fractions. So I'm gonna go ahead and do from this section, number 2, which is asking us to convert 3 3/4. So this is a mixed fraction. Convert this mixed number or mixed fraction into an improper fraction. Okay, so the best way I can explain this to you guys and the easiest is it's a triangle. Okay, and I'm going to walk you through the triangle. So the denominator is 4. So we take 4 times the 3, our whole number in front. So 4 times 3 is 12. And then we move to the top number. So this is multiplication. And then when we move to the top number, we add. So 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15. So we put the 15 on top in the numerator position, and we keep our denominator. So our denominator was 4. So it's a triangle. If you just follow the triangle and you keep the denominator, it's going to work every time. Okay, so let's do number 4. Number 4 is asking to convert 2 5/6 from a mixed number into an improper fraction. So it's the same thing. We're going to follow our triangle. We take 6 times 2 is 12, plus the 5 is going to give us a 17 on top in the numerator, and we keep our denominator of 6. The end. Does everybody feel good about going from improper fractions to mixed numbers and mixed numbers back to improper fractions? I know some of this is going to be silly and you're going to be like, huh, this lady, she's making me do this. But if we clean it up right now and we remember simple rules, I promise you it'll make your semester a lot smoother. Okay? Now, let's go to this last section on this worksheet. I'm going to have to work on this camera situation because I'm seeing what, like, it won't focus. So I do apologize for that, guys. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take this question here, which I know you can't probably see. I'm going to write it out for you. But it wants us to add and reduce fractions to the lowest terms. So for this problem, it's asking us to add 2 1/2 to 3/4. Yeah. I'm gonna have to work on this for you guys because this is not gonna be pleasant for an entire semester. This camera needs to be changed. Okay, anyways, that's my problem, not yours. Okay, so the first thing we wanna do, right, we see that these two fractions, this one has a denominator of 2, this one has a denominator of 4. So let's make our life easy and let's change this mixed fraction into an improper fraction first. So we're gonna go 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So we have 5/2 plus 3/4. Okay? So we still have denominators that are not the same. So we need to figure out, we always scale up until the very end. So how do I make this 2 into a 4? We multiply it by 2, right? So if I do something to the bottom of a fraction, I also have to do it to the top. So I'm going to multiply this 2 by 2, but I'm also going to multiply the top, the numerator, by 2 as well. And so when I do that, my new fraction becomes 2 times 5 is 10 over 2 times 2 is 4, right? Yeah, guys, I am so sorry about this camera. Like, it bothers me. So I promise next week I'll have a better camera. Okay, and then we just bring down the 3/4. Now our denominators are the same. So we keep our denominator with addition and subtraction. We keep our denominator and we add the numerator terms. So just 10 plus 3, that's going to give us 13. So here, can we reduce this to a lower term?
Yes.
What would you do?
Give me 1 second.
Okay. Okay.
Would you do what you did in the beginning with the division? 13 divided by 4?
Okay, see? Perfect. I like that you said this. So when I ask for, can we reduce this to lower terms, it means, can I essentially divide both of these numbers by another number to get this fraction into lower terms? Right now, I can't, right? I can't divide, the only thing I can divide 4 by is 4 divided by 4 or 4 divided by 2, right? To get this number to a smaller term. But I can't divide 13 by 4 and I can't divide 13 by 2. So as far as reducing this fraction, I can't reduce this fraction to any, I can't reduce this fraction any further. It already is in its lowest terms. I could then ask you to change this improper fraction to a mixed fraction. And I think that's what you're thinking there. So if I take this improper fraction now and I change it into a mixed fraction, what would that look like? That would be 13 divided by 4. That's going to be a 3. That gives me 12. I subtract and I have a remainder of 1, right? So my mixed number is going to be 3 and 1/4. So let's be careful that we're being clear and understanding what the terms mean. If I want to reduce this, I have to be able to reduce and divide both the numerator and the denominator by the same number and get an even and get a whole number out. So I can divide 4 and divide it by 4, but if I divide 13 by 4, I'm going to get a fraction, right? And we can't do that. This will make sense as we continue into the next section. But I can take this from being an improper fraction and convert it into a mixed number. Does that make sense? You can tell me no. We're going to keep going, okay? So let's do one more of these add and then reduce. So let's try this next one. And it's asking us to, this is number 9 in worksheet 1. And it's asking us to take 2 2/3 and add 3 7/9. Okay, so I prefer to operate in improper fractions. So I'm going to take these mixed numbers and I'm going to make them into improper fractions. So 2 times 3 is 6 plus 2 is 8/3. And 3 times 9 is 27. And 27 plus 7, I'm not looking, is 34. So 34/9. Okay, so again, our denominators don't match. We need to get this 3 to match the 9. So I need to multiply this fraction by a 3. So if I do something on the top, I have to do it to the bottom, right? They work together. They're part of the same fraction. So anything we do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. If I do it to the numerator, I have to do it to the denominator. They exist together. Okay, so 3 times 8 is going to give me 24/9. And this is going to stay my 34/9. What does that give me? It's going to be a 58/9. And this is my improper fraction. I don't believe we can reduce this. So let's take this improper fraction and change it into a mixed number. So it's going to look like 59. Oops, I'm sorry. 58 divided by 9. That's going to give me, what is that? 9 times 6 is 54. We'll have a remainder of 4. So my mixed fraction is the whole number in front, the 6, with I keep my denominator, the 9, and my remainder of 4 goes on top. Do we feel satisfied with how to go from mixed fractions, improper fractions, and adding them now? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're gonna skip on to the next section. And that's multiplying and reducing your fractions, okay? So the next one we're gonna do is we'll do number 2. Number 2 is asking us to take 7 over 8 and multiply it by 2 over 3. So here, do I have matching denominators? No, but my operation has changed to multiplication. So I don't care if my denominators match. I simply keep my numerator and my denominator separate, okay? So what that means is I multiply only what is in the numerator. So in this case, I'm only going to multiply 7 times the 2 in the numerator, and that gives me my new answer in the numerator. So my new numerator is 14. I only then multiply my denominator terms. 8 times 3 in my denominator gives me 24. Okay? So here, I have 2 even numbers, right? So we need to figure out what we can reduce this. It's not an improper fraction, right? Because the numerator is not larger than the denominator. But we need to see if we can reduce this fraction. So because they're both even, let's go ahead and divide both of these numbers by 2. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. 24 divided by 2 is 12. So this would be my reduced fraction. I know that there aren't any other numbers that I can divide evenly into 12 and 7. Okay, so that's one way you can multiply your fractions and then reduce. This is a little bit longer when you're working on a test. So I'm going to show you another way that we can simplify this up front, okay? So if I go back to the beginning, 7 over 8 times 2 over 3, I can break this 8 down, right? I know that 8 is the same as 4 times 2. Does that make sense to everyone so far? Okay. So I know 8 breaks down into 4 times 2. So if I rewrite this as 7 over 4 times 2 times 2 over 3, when I'm multiplying and reducing fractions in the same step, if there's a factor in the denominator and the same factor in the numerator, I can just cancel them. Okay, so because I canceled the 2 here, I want to put something there just to remind me. So in this fraction, we just canceled a numerator, right? So I'm just going to put a 1 there as a placeholder, just to remind me that something still existed there, but I just canceled the 2, okay? So now I'm just going to still follow the same process, and I multiply what's in the numerator, and then I multiply what's in the denominator. So what I have left in the numerator now is 7 times 1 is 7, and in the denominator I have 4 times 3 and that's my 12. So I still get the same final reduced fraction in the end. It's just two processes depending on what feels most comfortable in your brain. Everyone's going to want to think through this differently. Everyone is going to want to approach them differently. So do what makes the best sense for your brain, okay? Does anybody have questions on this so far? Okay, cool. Let's do one more. Let's go with number 8. And that is asking us to multiply 3/4 by 2 3/8. Okay, so now we have a fraction with a mixed number and mismatched denominators. So let's make our lives a little easier. We're going to go ahead and carry over this 3/4, and let's change this mixed number into an improper fraction. So we're going to go 8 times 2 is 16, plus the 3 is going to give us 19, right? And we keep our denominator. So now, this is going to be a messy number. Okay, so now we look at what we have. Can we reduce any of these numbers? No, because we have this funky 19 and he's a prime number. So we're just going to have to go ahead and multiply across. So 3 times 18, I don't even know what that is. I'm going to use my calculator. That's 54 times divided by, then in the denominator, it's 4 times 8. That's going to be a 32.
It's 3 times 19.
Oh, what did I
Right,
do?
it should be
Oh,
57.
yeah, I did 18. Thank you. Because I was going to say, that doesn't seem right, because I should have an odd number in here. Okay, thank you. So what is this fraction now? What do we call this? Anybody?
An improper fraction.
Okay, cool. So what do we need to do now?
Turn it into a mixed number.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing. 57 divided by 32. What, that's only going to go into like one time. Yeah. So 32. Our remainder is 24. Good Lord, I need coffee. I can't even subtract this morning. All right. So that gives me a mixed number of my whole number 1. I keep my denominator of 32, and my remainder goes on top. Can I reduce this fraction?
Yes.
By what?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you cannot.
Okay. It's messy, right?
Right, it's messy. You cannot.
Okay, cool. So that's multiplying fractions, changing your mixed numbers into improper fractions, performing the multiplication operation, and then changing your improper fraction back into a mixed number. So we just did a whole lot of work in that one problem. And this would be your final answer, since you cannot reduce it any further. Okay, and that's basically the whole of chapter 1. if you once you guys get your books, you're gonna get your syllabus for the med math course, and I'm thinking they're gonna ask you to do the worksheet one and the post-test one. So we just did a question out of every section for the worksheet one from chapter 1. Okay?
Do we have any information on how to get the book or where to get the book?
That should all be coming from the nursing department.
Okay.
I know that this is the book that they've been using, and let me see if I can show you the ISBN. I know you can rent it from Amazon for like $20. So that might be something to look into.
Is that in the bundle?
Yes, it should be included in the bundle.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, if you want to just wait for the bundle, wait for the bundle. If not, and you want to just kind of be extra and rent it from Amazon, you know what? I'll type it in the chat before we leave. But it's 978-03-23-55-1281. But yeah, it's part of your bundle. And like I said, we're starting early, guys. So don't freak out. You're okay. Okay, let's keep going. Decimal places. Yay. Worksheet 1. Okay, these are more like, honestly, I'm just gonna ask you guys questions.
Sorry, Ms. Pettis, what page are you on?
I'm in chapter 2, worksheet 1 on page 41.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you can just call me Roxy.
Okay, thank you.
I don't need to be Miss Pettis. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of talk about these. Honestly, this is a chat, so feel free to unmute yourself and just jump in and answer. When I hear a correct one, we're moving on, people. If you feel like you're stuck, then stop me, interject, holler, scream for help. Okay? Number 1, it's literally asking you to write this number in words. So the question is 0.2. So I'm not going to ask y'all to write this in words. Honestly, I have never heard of a student saying this was a question on the test, but let's go through it quickly. Write the following in numbers. It's 2, and the position of this decimal place is tenths. Number 2 is that number. Like if I say it, I'm giving the answer away already. Okay, so how do we write that? It's 9 and 68 hundredths. If you guys have forgotten the names of your place values for your decimal places, a good page to go back and review is the top of page 34. The top of page 34 gives you a place value chart. So moving to the right of your decimal place, you first have tenths, then hundredths, then thousandths, then 10,000ths, then 100,000ths, and then millionths. just review this chart, guys. Like I said, I haven't ever heard of a student tell me, Miss Roxy, I had to spell out 100 thousandths today. Like, I've never heard that. But just be sure to go over this table and review it on page 34, just in case something crazy happens, okay? You're familiar with the spelling and you're familiar with the place values. Okay, so let's go back. I think that's enough of that section. I think we're good. If you need more practice or refreshing on the names of the place values behind the decimals, review page 34, place value table or place value chart. Okay, so what do I want us to do here? Does everyone feel good about adding decimals? And again, remember, you have your calculator on your test. So we're just going to cover it really quick. 2.2 plus 355.6 plus 8.125 plus 6.75. Everyone do that in your calculator. Don't do it freehand. I don't want y'all doing this freehand. Do it in your calculator. Give me a thumbs up when you got it. And let me know if we all agree with that guy. Did you get the same value that I got? 372.675.
Yes, I got it.
Okay. So I know we're reviewing. I know I'm doing everything by hand. I want you guys, other than the fractions, pretty much everything that you're going to do as far as the math in this course, I want you guys to do it in your calculator. Your tests and your quizzes in med math, they are timed. So we need to be sure we're comfortable with our calculator. We're comfortable with putting in our decimal places. We're accurately translating what's on the paper and typing it in correctly. Honestly, that's probably one of the biggest problems that I've seen with students on the test is doing everything at home freehand, right? Like longhand, like I'm trying to do it on paper and practice adding it. Nobody wants you to do that. You have a calculator on the test for a reason. I want you guys to be doing everything in your calculator. So
do we have our own calculator, or there's one on the actual, like, we use the one that's on the computer or the desktop, or?
No, you're going to use your actual calculator in your hand. So that's why I say I want you guys to make sure you're not allowed, like this type of calculator, you're not allowed to use in med math. You are required to use one of those super basic, like the 10 key calculators. Honestly, buy like 10 of those from the Dollar Tree.
Okay.
The battery dies, but those have been the easiest to deal with for students. And I mean, they're inexpensive. They're $1.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. But yeah, you're restricted to a 10 key, those tiny little calculators that are super basic, and that's it. So that's why I say everything that we do in tutoring and everything that we're going to cover in the book, with the exception of fractions and like setting up our fractions, we're going to do everything in our calculator because that's the tool you're allowed on the test. I want you guys to be comfortable, to be familiar. Like I said, my biggest issue that I see with students is translating all of these numbers and inputting them in properly to the calculator. Mistakes happen. So I want you guys to make sure you're using your calculator correctly. Okay? So basically that's chapter 2. Add fractions and then subtract fractions. Okay, so let's do a subtraction problem. This is going to be number 4 on page 41 in the subtraction section, and it's asking us to take 250.7 minus 75.896. Go. Do it on your calculator. What did you guys get?
174.804.
Okay. So chapter 2, like, right, once you get your book, chapter 2 should be fairly easy to knock out. Okay, now let's go to the next section of this chapter. Let's do I like number 7. It's asking us to multiply 2.3 times 45.21. Go.
103.983.
Anybody get anything different? I'm seeing a lot of head shakes. Yes, we all got the same answer. Okay, cool. So 103.983. Okay, so quick review. This was 174.804. I want everyone on your paper to round to the hundredths place. So take this number 4 and the answer to number 7 and round your answers to the hundredths place.
Do you want us to just tell you?
Yeah.
Okay, so the number 4 is 174.80.
Okay.
And then for number 7, it's 103.98.
Okay. Is everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, looking back at your original answer, round those numbers to the tenths place.
Okay, number 4 is 174.8.
Okay.
And number 7 is 103. This is where it gets tricky. So it's
Okay.
going to be 104
Okay. Why? Talk to me.
because the 8 rounds up to 9 to 10. And then you have to add to the next decimal place. Is that right?
Yes.
So it's
Okay.
104.
Yes. So exactly. I'm focusing on my tenths place. If the number behind it is 5 or greater, I have to round this up. When I round this up, it makes it go into a 10, right? So this becomes a 0, and I add the 1 to the ones place. So this forces everyone to get bigger. So when I round to the tenths place, I actually get 104. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's go on to the next section of this chapter. So the next section is asking us to take numbers that we have as decimals, so 0.09, and multiply by 10.
.9.
Okay. So that probably took you a lot more keystrokes, right? There's lots of decimals, times 10, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to show you the shorthand way of doing this. How many zeros are on the right-hand side of the 10?
1.
1. So I take this decimal and I move it right one place. And that also would give me, so if I had 0.09 and I move my decimal one place to the right, that gives me 0.9. So if putting this in the calculator is fastest, easiest, makes the most sense to you, do that. If simply shifting your decimal place, following how many zeros you have, is what makes sense for you, do it. Okay? So I'm going to give you, this isn't specifically from the book right now, but it's going to matter later. Okay? So let's say I had 0.09 times 100. What's my answer?
9.
Perfect. So I have 2 zeros to the right of my 1. So I take my decimal place and I move it 2 places to the right, and that gives me 9. So either way, whatever works for your brain, if putting in the calculator and being able to keep track of it that way is what works, do it. If knowing how to just move your decimal place is what works for you, then do that, okay? Let's do one more. And this is number 5 from that same section. And it's asking us to take 0.625, multiply it by 10.
6.25.
Cool. Okay, now do the same number, 0.625, multiply it by 100.
62.5.
Perfect. Who are you? Who's speaking to me?
Matthew.
Oh, okay. Hello, Matthew. Okay, makes sense, guys? Okay, let's keep going. And that quickly, we've already gone through an hour. Okay, so we're still in chapter 2. This is page 43. Okay, so we're gonna take question 1. It's 30 times 0.1. So where's your 0 now?
Three.
3.0.
Okay. Okay. So this, right? It's looking at these numbers the same from a different perspective. This is a decimal place. It's one decimal place being utilized behind, right, to the right of the decimal. So we take our decimal and we can move it. This is where it gets crazy. We shift it to the left one place. Okay, so now let's do from the next section, number 2, it's 90.8 times 0.01. So here, there's two, we're in 2 places to the right of the decimal. So we move our decimal place where?
2 points, 2 times, or two to the left.
Exactly. So we move it 2 to the left. So our answer is 0.908. Again, do whatever makes the most sense for you. If plugging this into the calculator is the easiest for you to not get lost, do it. If understanding how to move your decimal according to these values makes sense in your brain, do that. Okay? I don't want anyone to pick a method that's more challenging. I want you to pick the method that works for your brain. Okay? So, last 2 sections of this chapter. Okay, we're going to go with, we're still on page 43. We are converting fractions. We're converting these and we're rounding to the nearest tenths place. So number 3 is asking us to round 2.359 to the tenths place. So what does that look like?
2.4.
Perfect. Did everyone get that?
Yes.
Okay. We'll do number 6 from the same section, 8.092, round to the tenths place.
8.1.
Cool. All right, next section. We're doing number 2, and the value is 4.275. And this time round to the hundredths place.
4.28.
Yes. I'm just writing notes for the people that are going to watch this later. Okay, let's do let's do number 6. It's 2.988. So rounded to the hundredths place.
3.
Rounded to the hundredths place.
Oh, sorry.
2.99.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So I left a lot of space. Last, let's go to our next section. We're going to do number 2 again. The value is 5.9246 and round to the thousands place.
5.925.
Perfect. Did everyone get that?
Yes.
Holler at me if we need to slow down. Holler at me if you feel like we need to hurry up.
Sorry, what was the question for that one?
Round to the thousandths place. So
Got
ten,
it. Thank
hundredths, and then the thousands. Cool. Okay, let's do number 5. And the value is 321.0869.
321.087.
Perfect. And let's do one more for funsies. 455.7682.
455.768.
Cool. Okay. The next section of this, chapter 2 is a little longer. Okay, so the next section, everybody calculators ready. This is an entirely calculator section. This is page 44, starting on top. And we're gonna do number 2, 124.2 divided by 0.03. I'm not asking you for longhand. I'm asking you throw that bad boy into your calculator and let me know your answer.
4,140.
Girl, I don't even know. I haven't finished typing it in. Okay. 4,140. Everybody good? Okay. Next question. We'll do number 6. It's 4.6 divided by 35.362. And round that answer to the hundredths place.
.130.
Tell me to the hundredths place.
0.13.
Perfect. So if I put the 0 there, your answer isn't technically incorrect. However, if you put the 0 there in your med math exam and they specifically told you to round to the hundredths place, you're going to get 0 points on that question. Okay? So be careful after rounding. Don't add in extra zeros. Okay? Technically, the value is correct, but you didn't follow the instructions exactly the way they're going to ask you in med math. And they will mark it wrong, and you're not going to be able to argue for your points back. Okay? It's just a heads up. It's just to make you guys aware. Place values matter, rounding matters, and they are going to give you very specific questions on your exam day, okay? They are going to be very specific. I want you to round to the tenths. I want you to round to the hundredths. I want you to round to the thousands. So yes, that 0 technically, the value is still correct, but if you put it on the test and they asked for the hundredths, you're going to get it wrong. And I don't want you guys to lose points for small things, right? You're doing the hard work. We don't want to lose points for just tiny little mistakes like that, because you won't be able to argue your points back. I can guarantee you this, okay? All right, so let's do a couple of the next ones. We're going to take number 5, and it's asking you to take the value 0.375 and divide by 10. What did you guys get?
0.0375.
Cool. So again, chapters 1 through 5 are not absurdly difficult. It's just getting you guys, right, to see this content again, to get comfortable plugging it into your calculator again. Okay, so we're gonna finish there with page 44, and let's move on to page let me see. Let's move on to page 45, yeah. Okay. So the last section, number 1, is asking us to take 1/8, change this proper fraction into a decimal. So what I literally want you to do is take your calculator and you're going to plug this fraction in as 1 divided by 8. What is your decimal?
0.125.
Perfect. And that's it, guys. Don't try to do longhand division where you're going to try to take 1 and divide it by 8 and then start adding your 0. Like, don't do this. No. Like, I will cry if you start doing this on your test. You have your calculator, plug it in. It wants you to take the fraction, make it into a decimal. You literally just type 1 divided by 8, okay? The next one is number 3, and it wants us to convert 16/25 into decimal. Go.
0.64.
Cool. Did everybody get that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Last one from this section is going to be number 5. And they're asking you to convert 8/200.
0.04.
Okay. Okie dokie. So I feel like that's let's do one more. Let's do like 2 or 3 more from one more section from chapter 2. This is still page 45. Okay, so now they want us to take our decimals. So this is number 3. And they're asking us to take the decimal 0.68 and change it into a fraction. Okay, so I'm keeping this decimal, 68. What place value is the last digit in? This is
100.
our, yeah,
Hundreds.
this is our 10, and this is our hundreds, right? So I'm going to put this over 100. Right? And to confirm that that's the same thing, I can do exactly the same thing we've been doing. Take 68 divided by 100, and it gives me back the same decimal, 0.68. Okay, so it's really that easy. Whatever the decimal value is, you keep that value and you put it over the last digit place. Okay, so now let's do number 4. 4 is 0.0025. What's my fraction?
Five over 10,000.
Yes. Okay, so again, if I plug that back in, 25 divided by 10,000, I get back my original decimal place. Okay, so now for funsies, I'm going to ask you, reduce this fraction. The largest that I can reduce this is reduce both numbers by 25.
1 over 25. Oh, I'm sorry, 1 over 400. Sorry.
I was gonna say, girlfriend, I'm gonna have
I
you
know.
do that again.
Sorry, I was looking at my calculator wrong. 1 over 400.
Okay, perfect. So if you were asked, change the decimal into a fraction and reduce your answer, because they're always going to ask you to reduce your answers on the test. Now, first step would be, right, convert this decimal into the fraction and then reduce your fraction by this largest common factor. Okay? So on the test, would this be an acceptable answer?
No.
Why?
It can be reduced
By what?
17 over 25.
Okay, so you
by
reduced
4.
So you reduced it by 4, right?
Yes.
Okay. So 68 divided by 4 is going to give you your 17. 100 divided by 4 is going to give you your 25. That would be your answer on test day. Reduce, take your decimal, make it into the fraction, and then determine if you can reduce that fraction to the lowest terms. This would get you your points on your test. This will get you your points on your exam, okay? So just be sure you did the step, you did the work, but the test is gonna be very specific. They're always gonna want you to reduce your fractions to the lowest terms. So as you go back and do some more review, make sure you're checking yourself. Are you reducing your fractions to the lowest terms? Make sure to do that, okay? All right, we're moving on. Chapter 3. Okay, chapter 3. We are on page 63. So it's worksheet page 63. Okay, and we're gonna go with number 2. Number 2 is asking us to take our fraction 3/8 and change this into a percent. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our handy dandy calculator and we're gonna take 3 divided by 8 and multiply it by 100. Okay. Cool? Pretty easy.
So the answer was a 37.5.
Yes. So as a decimal, it's 0.375. Then we multiply by 100, and that'll give us 37.5%. Okay. Let's do, I'm sorry guys if you hear crashing around. I don't know what my husband is doing in the background. Okay, let's do number 10. Do I want to have y'all do number 10? Yeah. Okay, number 10 is asking us to convert 11 over 16. So we take our calculator, 11.
68.75%.
Yes. So our decimal is 68.75. We take that, we multiply it by 100, and our answer is 68.75%. Okay? And that's all of that first section. The next section is even easier, okay? So now they're asking us, we'll do number 2. Take this decimal 0.367 and make it into a percent.
3.67%.
Exactly. So all we do is multiply by 100 and we get 3.67%. Okay, let's do number 10. And it's asking us to convert 0.673, convert this decimal into a percent. So we multiply by 100 and we get
67.3.
perfect. Percent. Okay. Okay, we're moving on. Next is page 64. And they want us to take, now, we're going to do number 4, 10%, and change this into a, I'm sorry, they are giving you your percent, and they want you to change the following percent to either a mixed number or a proper fraction. So let's go with a proper fraction. Okay, so it's 10%. Percents are always out of what? 100, right? So 10 out of 100. So here's an easy math trick that we're going to use a lot. If I have zeros in my numerator and I have zeros in my denominator, an equal quantity of zeros cancel each other out. So I can cancel 1 0 from the top with 1 0 from the bottom. So my reduced proper fraction is 1 over 10. And if I go back and I want to check this, right? My fraction is 1 over 10. 1 divided by 10 gives me a decimal of 0.1. And if I multiply it by 100, I get my 10%. Okay? If you ever feel like you're in doubt of what you did in your work, you can always check yourself. Okay? Okay, the next section, it's pretty much the same thing. So number 1 is 37.5%. And they want you to change this percent into a decimal. So we keep our value, 37.5. It's out of 100. And you can just plug that into your calculator and get your decimal. And that's going to give you 3.375. Again, if I wanted to take my decimal that I have and multiply it by 100, I would get back my 37.5%. Okay? Pretty easy. Okay, last 2 sections of chapter 3. This is where students tend to have a challenge, okay? So the questions are asked in the way, are presented in the phrase, what percent of, and this is still on page 64. That way when you get your book, you guys know where we were at. Okay, what percent of 40 is 22? So 22 of 40 times 100 is what percent?
%55.
Okay. Okay. Let's do number. Let's do number 3. What percent of 200 is 4? So 4 of 200 is what percent?
Two.
Perfect. So that's 2%. Everybody good with that? Okay. So the next section, and this is on page 65, is phrased differently. What is 25% of 478? So number 1, we want 25% of, which means times, 478. Okay, so take your percentage and make that into a decimal, right? We know that's just 25 over 100. You're going to get real comfortable with these percentages as you go along. So that's just 0.25, right? As a decimal times 478. What is that?
119.5.
Okay. 478 times 0.2. Cool. Okay. Now let's do number, let's do number 9. What is 62% of 871. So change this percentage.
540.02.
What did you get? Oh, no, wait, I typed it in wrong. Hold on. See? Calculator error. It'll get you every time. Okay, go ahead.
540.202.
0.02. Okay. So exactly. Take your percentage, put it over 100, make it into a decimal, times 871 is going to give you 540.02. Okay. That's all of chapter 3, guys. All right, let's move on. Going chapter 4. And this is going to be page. Okay, so chapter 4 is covering ratios, and we're going to go over the worksheet on page 81. Okay, so the first section is asking us to change our ratio of 4/6 to ratios reduced to the lowest terms, which basically means just reduce your fraction. What's your reduced fraction going to look like?
2/3.
Yep. Okay. Let's do number 5. Reduce your fraction to ratio to its lowest terms of 20/50. So remember, zeros cancel zeros. So I'm canceling those out. So all I'm left with is 2/5. Can I reduce that anymore? No. So I'm done. Remember, an equal quantity of zeros in the numerator can cancel an equal quantity of zeros in the denominator. Trailing zeros. Zeros on the right-hand side. Okay? And that's it. That's already your reduced fraction. You can't do anything else. Okay. Okay, so next section on this page, let's do number 4. And it's asking you to take the following decimal fractions to reduce to ratios reduced to the lowest terms. So make this into a fraction and then reduce it. So as a fraction, this is a 6th. This is the 10th place. So I put the 6/10 and I reduce, which means I can just divide everyone by a 2, right? So I'm left with 3/5. That's my reduced ratio to the lowest terms. I'm going to make up my own. It's close to number 6. Let's do 0.75. What's your fraction? It's going to be 75.
25/100.
Okay, perfect. And then what's my reduced fraction or my reduced ratio? I can divide both of these numbers by 25. 75 divided by 25 gives me 3. 100 divided by 25 is 4. So my reduced ratio is 3/4. Okay. So we're going on. That's the end of page 81. So let's go to page 82. And the first section, they're asking us to take the following percents and change them into ratios and then reduce your ratios. So number 1, 10%. What is that going to be as a fraction? It's just going to be 10 over 100, right? I'm going to use my math tricks, an equal quantity of zeros on top, cancel an equal quantity of zeros on the bottom, and what I'm left with is 1 over 10. That's my reduced ratio. Okay, let's do number 5, 44%. It's 44 of 100. Oh, guys. What do you get?
11 over 25.
Okay. Cool. And that's it. That is your reduced ratio. Okay, the last section on page, where are we at? We're still on page 82. Let's do number 1. Okay, so this section is asking us to change the following ratios to fractions reduced to the lowest terms. Okay, so the ratio is 4 to 64. All I do is make that into a fraction. 4 over 64, and I reduce. The largest I can reduce that by, obviously, is going to be a 4, right? So 4 divided by 4 and 64 divided by 4 is 1 over 16. I can't reduce it anymore, so I'm done. Okay? Number 2 is 4 to 800. Make that into a fraction. 4 over 800. Reduce that, right? Divide everyone by 4. Divide by 4. That's 1 over 200. You're done. And let's do number 3. 3 to 150. That's kind of messy. Okay, rewrite our fraction. 3 over 150. Obviously, the greatest that we can reduce it by is the 3. So that's 1 over what?
50.
50. Perfect. Cool. Okay. And that's it. All right. Let's go. Let's do number 7 of the same section, just because I have not seen this on one of y'all's tests, but you never know. Okay? So 4 over 5 to 1/4. So what is that going to look like as a fraction? It's going to be 4 over 5 over 1 over 4. That looks like a hot mess. This, in our math life, we don't accept. It's a fraction on top of a fraction, so we're going to clean it up, okay? The way we clean it up is we take the fraction in the denominator and we multiply it by the reciprocal. All that means is flip it around. So I have 1/4. So I'm going to multiply it by the reciprocal, which is just 4/1. And the same rule applies. If I do something in the denominator, I have to do it in the numerator. So again, I'm going to multiply the numerator now by 4/1. Okay, so here, all I have, if I were to multiply this out, is 1 times 4, which is going to give me a 4, over 4 times 1, which is going to give me a 4. When I take 4 divided by 4, that's just a 1, right? Which means I don't care about this denominator anymore. It's just become a 1. I forget about it. All I'm going to focus on now is the numerator. And in the numerator, I have 4 times 4, which is 16, over 5 times 1, which is 5. So my ratio is 16 to 5. I can't reduce this fraction. If it asks me to, I can convert this improper fraction to a mixed number, but right now that's not what it's asking me to do. It's just asking me to take this ratio and simplify it into the most reduced fraction. And that's it. I will stop here. Okay? Okay. Okay, so the next section on page 83 Okay, the next section on page 83, it's asking us, number 1, to take the ratio 7 to 4 and change it into a decimal. So the easiest way you guys are going to do this is take your ratio, set it up as a fraction, and put that fraction in your calculator. This one, 7/14, that's a half, right? So I can reduce it to 1/2, but I want to change that into decimal, so 1/2 is the same as 0.5. If you're not comfortable with this, then just put it in your calculator. 7 divided by 14. It's a half. The end. You don't have to do all this additional work, okay? Okay, so the next one, number 2, the ratio is 5 to 20. What's the decimal? It's just 0.25, right? Okay, we'll do one more. Number 3, the ratio is 3 to 8. The fraction, 3/8. The decimal is 0.375. The end. That's it. Okay? So now the last section on page 83 is change the following ratios to percents. So we're doing the exact same thing. We're going to do number 1. The ratio is 2 to 4. Set up your fraction. 2/4. That's 0.5. Take that decimal, multiply it by 100. What is your percentage? It's 50%, right? Is everybody still good? Thumbs up, heads yes. Okay. Okay, let's do 2 more. Let's do number 2. The ratio is 7 to 231. So I set up my fraction. I plug that into my calculator, 231. That's that hideous decimal. I don't care about it. It's not asking me for the decimal. It's asking me for the percent. So I multiply by 100. And my percent to the hundredths place is 3.03%. Okay? And for funsies, let's do number 3. And it's asking us to convert 25 to 250. Same thing, 25 over 250, multiply it by 100. 25 divided by 250 times 100 gives you 10%. Okay, guys? That's the end of chapter 4. And let's move on to chapter 5. Okay, chapter 5 is proportions, which again, all of this is kind of really repetitive once you start doing it a lot. Proportions, ratios, fractions, percentages. It's just a matter of not getting lost, right? So chapter 5, page 97, we're covering proportions. And the first question wants us to find the value of x, okay? So they're asking us 20 to 400 is proportional to what to 1680? This is your like double semicolon. That just looks like a hot mess, right? We're not gonna let it scare us just because it wants to look messy. We're gonna make 2 fractions, and this is our equal sign, okay? So my fraction on the left-hand side is gonna be 20 over 400, and that's equal to x over 1680, okay? So I prefer to do cross multiplication. I feel like it's easier for you guys. If you know how to solve for this x your own way, solve for it, okay? Essentially, you're trying to get x by himself. So in order to get x by himself, I need to take the reciprocal of the 1680 and multiply it to both sides. Multiplied. This guy is going to cancel there, which leaves me with my x all by himself. There's a 1, but the 1 doesn't do anything, right? So he's essentially by himself. The x is isolated. That's what we are always going for. So here is just a matter of plugging that into your calculator. 1680 times 20 divided by 400. 84? Did everybody get 84? Did you all get that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's do number Let's do number 5. This one is 75 2x compared to 100 to 2. So we set up our fractions the same way. 75 over x equals 100 over 2. So the x is in my denominator now, which makes them a little bit messy, but not really. So another math trick that you can do here is take the reciprocal of both sides of your fraction to start with. So we reduce extra steps, okay? So what that means is I'm literally just gonna flip both of my fractions. Okay, so now the x is in the numerator, which requires me to perform fewer steps. So to get rid of the 75, I do the same that we did before. I'm going to take the reciprocal and I multiply it to both sides. He's gone. I have my x by itself, and then I just finish solving with my calculator. So 2 times 75 divided by 100 gives me 1.5. Okay? Is everybody following? Is everybody good? I know this is starting to get into a little bit more algebra, and this is where I tend to lose people. So if you're lost, I need you to holler at me. I need you to speak up. Okay? Everybody's good? Okay. Okay, let's do honestly, that's all this chapter is. Like, it's really repetitive. Let's do number 10. It's 3 to 150 compared to 40 to x. So same thing, 3 over 150 equals 40 over what? Let's make our lives easy, and we take the reciprocal, which means just flip both of our fractions. I need to get the x isolated by himself. So I'm going to multiply both sides by the 40. That's gone. So now I just take my calculator and I say 40 times 150 divided by 3 is 2,000. All right, you guys good? Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna go through, again, if you have time, I definitely encourage you to stay. These are just my tips to get you started for the semester. And hopefully they are mostly right just to help you guys. This is a new version of the textbook, so excuse me, but I'm gonna have to kind of like flip through to find what I need to point out to you guys. Okay, so let's go backwards actually first, see if there's anything I want you to highlight. I'm gonna need those. Okay, so this book, this is my word of caution. This book is not entirely difficult, but this book likes to hide information in the most random places. So this textbook is not a hard read. So I really encourage you guys, 1 through 5, like I said, they're on your own. So just go through and do some more practice out of the post-test pages once you get your book. But honestly, if you can do the worksheets, if you can do the post-test, you're pretty solid in the content for chapters 1 through 5. The biggest thing is, let me see if I can find any of these tables right now, is all of the conversion charts that are in this textbook you need to learn, especially for the first exam. They're going to ask you to practice a lot of conversions. And if you don't have your conversion tables memorized and you haven't been practicing with them, it's going to get real annoying really quickly, okay? So I'm just going through this real quick to make sure I'm not missing anything. But again, most of y'all's content starts at chapter 6. Chapters 1 through 5, they're on your own. That's why I like for y'all to come tutor and just kind of get it knocked out before you even get into any of your nursing content. Not seeing anything I need to worry about there. Okay, so starting in chapter 6. Make sure you read page 115 and understand the difference between all of these spellings and pronunciations. I know that sounds silly, but it's one of the issues that I see in students in terms of hearing, reading, and writing your units and performing your unit conversions, okay? So when it says milli versus micro, make sure that you understand a regular M, milliliter, milligram, right? Make sure that you're clear on that. When they are asking you for micro, you're gonna see MC, microliter, MC, microgram, or you're gonna see a funny Latin notation, and it's gonna look like a cursive U almost. This is milli. These are micro. So microliter, microgram. So they could write MC, microliter, MC, microgram, or they could also use the Latin notation, which just looks like a really weird cursive U-M thing. I promise you this will be on one of your exams somewhere, and you're never gonna know when this guy pops up. And every semester, I have a student get this wrong. So let's just remember, right? This is your Latin notation for micrograms, for microliters, okay? And then the first table that you guys should be covering is this common metric measures. I'm gonna try to scan this in today and put it in the Canvas. So you guys, even if you don't have your book bundle yet, you can kind of start reviewing these as well, okay? So that's table, they call everything boxes. So review box 6-1 on page 116. Okay, then let's go. The next thing you're gonna want to review is this table, and that's box 6-2 on page 120. And just so you also get a visual familiarity, review the little cup on page 121. Hold on, guys. I think I have a work text. Because somebody's blowing me up right now. Yeah, I can't get on their Zoom meeting while I'm Zooming with you guys. So they're going to have to wait. Okay, let's keep going. The next thing. Okay. Tables. Box 7.7-1. I want to make sure I can see. So cover box 7-1, and that's on page 139. Okay. Okay, and then review box 7-2, page 144. Page 144. I know this is a lot, guys, but honestly, they're really not that bad. And the quicker you get all of these conversion factors down, the easier your entire semester will be, okay? I promise you. When we get to this page, this isn't a to-do for right now. When we get to this section, 147, I'm going to show you how to do it a lot easier and how to set it up quickly for your exam. So if you get your book and you see this page, don't freak out. I'm going to make it easy, okay? Don't panic. Okay, and then the next chapter, I believe, is just telling, yeah, chapter 8 is just safety. So there really isn't any math involved, but I encourage you guys to read these tables. Table 8.1. One of your first exams, 8.1, and that's on page 165. And I'll type these all up on like a kind of tips and early starts for the semester, and I'll put it in the Canvas as well. But table 8.1 lists all of these do not use abbreviations because they tend to cause confusion when you're medicating your patient. This table always has at least 1 to 2 questions, I believe, on your like second exam. So again, right, it looks kind of boring. It's just there. You might want to just skip over it, but I guarantee you somebody in the classroom is going to get a question on this table, and more often than not, students get them wrong. So table 8.1, page 165. And then that leads us into this horrible looking nonsense. And it has this big title, error prone. We know these are issues. We know these cause people errors. Anything on everything on these 2 pages is worthwhile reading, because somewhere in here, and I always have a hard time finding it as well. Here we go. Remember that funny Latin micrograms notation I was talking about? I'm sorry, and this stupid camera is not cooperating today, but there's micrograms in the table. I'm gonna scan this in for you guys, so I know the view is terrible right now, but there's micrograms. It's often a common mistake. Students either forget that it means micro, or they confuse it with the milliliters, milligrams. So again, we're telling you it's an error-prone abbreviation. So again, once you get your book, start reviewing this table as well on these 2 pages. And that's table or figure 8-3 on pages 166 and 167. And let's see. Okay. I think that's good for today. As far as, oh, one more. I know I have one more. And then I know I have one more in the back of the book. The abbreviations in table 9-2 on page 177. These are your frequency definitions for administering medication to your patients. Once we get into the math problems in chapters 6 through 18, we come back to these abbreviations constantly, okay? So make sure you read what this means, make sure you understand what your medication abbreviations are, right? STAT means medicate your patient immediately, but what does Q2H, Q3H, blah, 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 PRN, QH? Make sure you understand what all of these are, because on your quizzes and on your exams, you will be asked just a quick question, right? Q3H, what does that mean? PRN, what does that mean? So that's another table that you can start studying early on that will help you for the entire, well, for your entire nursing career. But this is going to be on those earlier exams, okay? Does everybody know military time? No? I see
I
some
do.
people.
Yes.
Okay, so honestly, if you don't know military time, jump on YouTube and just watch a quick military like times video. From midnight to 12, right, p.m., that just follows the hour. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Once you go past 12, you start adding, you keep adding 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, all the way to 24 hours, right? 24 hours in a day. When you convert those afternoon and evening hours from military time, say like 1800, all you're doing is subtracting 12. So 1800 minus 12 is 6 p.m. because it's over 12, right? So if you don't know military time, just watch a YouTube video. Honestly, you'll be good with just watch a YouTube video. I'll even include a link in the Canvas, actually. This is my to-do list. And then also right here, this is a random trick question I've seen some students get on the exam. So what is the notation for midnight in military time?
0.
100 hours, right? Or
Yeah.
or 2400 hours. So I've seen students get that question on their test because, right, everybody is getting a random, it's a test bank. There's all kinds of questions in there. Y'all don't ever really get all of the same questions. Y'all might have similar questions, but for the most part, they're randomized. So I have seen students randomly get this question. What is military time for midnight? It's a 2-part answer, 2400 and 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 100 hours. Midnight. Military time. So just don't overlook those tiny things because they do try to throw random trick questions in, okay? And then, let's see, that's chapter 9. Okay, so then the next suggestion I have for you guys is way in the back of the textbook. And like I said, I'm going to just go ahead and scan all this into my Canvas course. So even if you don't have your book with you yet, I'm going to go ahead and upload these for you guys so you can start reviewing them. And again, I apologize, the camera is not cooperating today. But at the very back of your textbook, you have Appendix A that covers Roman numerals and your apothecary units. You need to know your Roman numerals. You're going to get random questions on a test that have Roman numerals. If you don't know Roman numerals, you're probably already going to get the question wrong. Okay, so my last recommendation is Appendix A, page 614, and learn your Roman numerals. You're going to, everyone will have a question with Roman numerals, I guarantee you. Okay. Okay, so that's everything to cover chapters 1 through 5. That is all of my recommendations for you guys to get a solid start on studying all of those notation, unit conversion charts, and all of these things that they're gonna start quizzing you on, okay? So, does everybody have like 30 minutes? Yes, no, maybe so. I see some no's. If you don't have any 30 minutes, then that's fine. Again, I'm still recording this, so I will be uploading the video and you can always come back. But I'm gonna jump in and show you guys how to set up all of your nursing, medication, and dosing problems in one standard uniform way that's gonna work for the entire semester. If I can get you to, if I can get your brain to process information in this way, you're gonna be good as far as the math is concerned, okay? So I'm gonna wait on chapter 6 for right now. And I think I'm gonna jump into chapter, it's chapter 9. I'm jumping into chapter 9, maybe 10, good Lord. Because that's when y'all really start seeing and reading your medication labels, but the same process applies for chapter 6 and 7, but we'll cover that on Monday. I wanna give you guys an example that's relevant to these medication labels, okay? Let's look at, I don't think that's far enough. Yeah, actually we're gonna go to chapter 11. I know we're skipping way ahead, but trust me. Okay, so the licensed prescriber, can you guys see that for the most part? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so the licensed prescriber orders Mini press 2 milligrams PO 2 times a day for Miss Shaw's high blood pressure. How many capsules will the nurse administer per dose? Okay, so the way we're gonna get into the habit of setting these up is the doctor's order over 1 multiplied by the concentration. Okay, so we look at our medication label, and I want you guys to tell me how much medication is available per capsule.
1 milligram.
Right? Okay, so there's your medication dose. It's 1 milligram. The label is telling you the form of the medication is in capsules. We're assuming this is a label on like an ibuprofen bottle or something like that, right? Like it's the label on the medication, and it's telling us in that bottle there's 250 capsules available. So this is the concentration. Oh, I don't. Wake up. So this is the concentration of your medication. So for this particular problem, the doctor ordered 2 milligrams. The medication is available as 1 milligram per 1 capsule. My units, what's on top cancels with the unit on the bottom. So my units of milligrams are going to cancel, and I just finish multiplying across. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 1 is over 1. So that's just 2 capsules. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So let's do number 2. The licensed prescriber orders Crystodigen 0.2 milligrams PO 2 times a day for 4 days, then 0.15 milligrams PO 2 times a day. So you have Crystodigen 0.05 milligram tablets available. How many tablets will you give for each dose during the first 4 days? Okay, so it's the same setup. Oh, that was number 3. Actually, I just wrote down number 3. So, okay, we'll do number 3. So the licensed prescriber orders 0.2 milligrams, right? That's the doctor's order. He prescribed it. You're never going to get to change that. Excuse me. The medication is available as 0.05 milligrams per tablet. So you're going to write that as 0.05 milligrams per 1 tablet. My units of milligrams are going to cancel. All I have left now is units of tablets. 0.2 divided by 0.05 is going to give me 4 tablets. So for the first 4 days, as the nurse, I'm going to administer 4 tablets per dose, right? After that, after the first 4 days, then the patient is prescribed 0.15 milligrams. I'm not changing the medication, so I still use the same concentration of my medication, the original 0.05 milligrams per tablet. same thing. My milligrams are gonna cancel. I'm gonna take 0.15 divided by 0.05, and that's gonna give me 3 tablets. Sound good? Okay, this is literally your doctor's order times your concentration of medication. This is our process A. Let me see if I can find. Let's do number 2, just because it's a little, the label for the medication is messy. Okay, Miss Taylor has a long history of seizures. Elixir of phenobarbital 30 milligrams PO Q12 hours is ordered. That got real messy really fast, right? That was a lot of information. They're telling us administer 30 milligrams by mouth every 12 hours, right? But do I care about the doctor's order and the frequency, or do I just need to focus on the doctor's order right now? Right now, I just want to focus on the doctor's order, okay? So what I'm going to focus on is this 30 milligrams. That's the doctor's order. The rest of this is telling me the frequency that I'm going to administer medication to my patient. But I'm not focusing on that yet. I'm just focusing on the doctor's order. So the doctor's order is 30 milligrams. Put it over 1. Okay. Now, this was not a generous problem statement, right? This one, they just told us what the concentration of the medication was. For number 2, we have to identify it on this medication label. So this is my other suggestion. Buy yourself one of those dollar little microscopes, like magnifying glasses, sorry. Go buy a little dollar magnifying glass at the Dollar Tree, because this print is extremely tiny. And your eyes, they're either going to grow strong or you're going to buy a dollar magnifying glass. Trust me. Because see, I can't even get it. Let me see. Can I get it? Can you see up here in the Zoom? Way somewhere on that label, right there in the center.
20 milligrams?
It's 20 milligrams per 5 milliliters. So this is me trying to make a point to you guys. Go buy the dollar magnifying glass, please. Like, if you love your eyeballs, just spend the $1. It's very fine, tiny print, but right here, and again, I apologize for this camera. I don't know why it's being difficult today. But right here, it says 20 milligrams per 5 milliliters. So when I come back to finish my problem, I'm going to use that information and set it up 20 milligrams per 5 milliliters. My milligrams are going to cancel the same way. I'm going to use my math tricks. A 0 on the top cancels a 0 on the bottom. And then I multiply across. 3 times 5 is 15 over 2. The units that I have left are milliliters. I'm going to just go ahead and reduce this. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5 milliliters. So the question for that problem is, how many milliliters will the nurse administer per dose? So what is she going to administer? The 7.5 milliliters. Okay? And really, that's a lot of what you guys are doing as far as the math is concerned. They'll get a little bit longer. We'll have a few additional steps just focusing on unit conversions. But that's what we're going to start with on Monday, is chapter 6, focusing on unit conversions, how we're going to need to add in some additional steps to get our units to correspond appropriately so that we can arrive at the correct final answer. But this is our process A. For right now, doctor's order times the concentration of the medication. Our process B, when we get there, is literally one more step. It's gonna be the doctor's order. We always place it over 1. It's going to include a unit conversion factor in the middle, and we're going to use that to tie back into the concentration of the medication. I know that sounds like garbage and meaningless right now, but I promise you, if you focus and just follow me with process A and process B, your life's going to be great. Okay? I promise. I'm going to make this as simple and easy as possible for you guys.
It's
Okay.
very similar to chemistry math.
Exactly. It's a lot of that unit conversions that you would have seen in, what is that? I think like chemistry 1405. It's setting it up. It's being consistent with your units. It's making sure that you know all of your unit conversions. And after that, the challenge becomes, honestly, reading the labels, because they like to have everything in very small fine print and buried in there. And that's basically what we're gonna, after we go through chapter 6 and 7, we're gonna work on a bunch of those problems come Monday. And then I'm probably gonna spend about 30 minutes with you guys on Monday covering how to read these labels and pull out the information that you need in order to make your problem solving simplified, okay? So that's basically all I have for today. I thank you all for joining me. I appreciate it. I know there wasn't an advance notice. I certainly apologize for that. But I thank you. You took the time out of your day today to get a jump start. We covered chapters 1 through 5. As soon as you get your textbook, I really encourage you just to go back through those chapters 1 through 5, do a couple of the questions out of the post-test one. And if you feel you're comfortable, you're good with the content and material in chapters 1 through 5, keep going. Don't stop, right? If you don't know military time, just jump on to a YouTube video. I'll link something in the Canvas show, but military time, it's not horrible. It's really not. And that's basically it. If you have any questions, like I said, or if you feel like you need some additional one-on-one tutoring time, give me a call, send me an email. I ask you for 24 to 48 hours advance notice. So if it's Monday, give me some times on like maybe late Tuesday, Wednesday, or somewhere, later in the week. You're gonna have your quiz open up on Sunday at 1 a.m. The quiz will close at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time on Friday. They're short. I'm not asking, it's not supposed to be overwhelming. They're going to be 5 to 10 questions on the chapters that y'all are covering in class for that week. And if you're coming to the tutoring and solid on your math, my expectation is you can be done with that quiz in under 30 minutes. Easy, okay? If you're having any challenges, just let me know. Reach out to me, okay? I don't want you to get lost. I don't want you to get left behind. And I don't want the math to scare you. Math is not scary. It's our friend, okay? But that's it. That's all I have for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I'm proud of you because you didn't have to be here today, but you did, and that's awesome. So thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Roxy, real quick, on that Monday, are we meeting at 8 or at 4? There are 2 different sessions.
Yeah, so on Mondays, I'm gonna have tutoring open from 8 to 11, and then again from 4 until 7 p.m. Again, you come at whatever time fits your schedule, If you feel like you're in that group of, I don't know what the hell with math, and I haven't seen math in my life in 10 years, and I'm terrified of it, come to both sessions. If you have classmates that are asking if that's allowed or not, absolutely. If you feel like right now you need to come to both sessions and just get that repetitiveness so you feel confident and you got it down pat, come to both sessions. I have no problem with that. If you feel like Sunday you're taking your quiz and you're knocking it out and you're getting 100 and you're like, I got this class, like I'm good, and you don't need to come to my tutoring on Monday, that's fine as well. This is for you guys to meet you exactly where you're at. If you feel like Sunday, I did my quiz, I'm good for the week, I don't have to see you on Monday. I just have to see that quiz done by Friday at noon. That's what tells me you're keeping up with the math content. Getting to 100 is what's telling me like you're on it. If I see you took the test, that little quiz, it's not a test, it's a quiz. If I see you took the quiz on Sunday and you got a 40, and then you took it again on Wednesday and you got like a 75, and then you took it again on like Thursday and you got a 90, you're showing me you improved. So I don't necessarily need 100 per se. Of course, I would love for everyone to have 100, but I want to at least see improvement. Are you working hard? Are you studying? Are you understanding the material? If you are, then I'm satisfied. Okay? Again, my intention is to make life easy, to make the math simple. It's not to give you more time-consuming work. 30 minutes or less, I expect you to just knock that quiz out. Okay?
Okay.
All right, if you guys have any questions, let me know, reach out to me. If not, I'll see you hopefully on Monday.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye, dear.
Bye, thank
Yes, you're welcome.